To battle!
Don't know about you, but...
Sorry about that.
Are we ready for this? Are we ready for this? Can't wait to try it. That again.
Harsh words to cause more than this useless weapon.
Me up when it's over.
I'm not built for this sort of violence. And fire!
Await my signal. For the Queen!
That one rattled me hard. Before me!
Right.
Seeing double.
I will aid you.
Better, faster, and stronger. aren't you?
Useless as a treasure. Something else.
I better not wake up dead.
I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it.
Brave me. All right, let's do this. Damn thing can pierce cloth.
On my command!
Too old for this.
This isn't working! Aw, someone stitch me up.
As you command.
Got dark all of a sudden.
Will do.
Count on it.
I feel...
Did I always have... this much?
Consider it done.
My armor is dense. Let me repair it.
I can't take much more of this. I'm not built for this sort of violence. Take care of it.
Pity you won't enjoy this as much as I do.
I'm not built for this sort of violence. See that?
Let them think they can hit me. Goodbye to you too. So if I might ask, what is your plan now? The edict no longer looms overhead, and Kairos' conquest of the Tears seems to be slipping, what with the armies and civil war. Then you have my full support. The Scarlet Chorus has grown in the years of conquest. Among the Horde are Tearsmen fighting because they felt there was no choice, as well as Tearsmen fighting to watch their homeland burn. It pains me we will have to slay some of the former. I would counsel you to do just that. I'm sure the events of Vendrian's Well are best explained from your mouth to Tunon's ears. Furthermore, I'd guess the Archon of Justice would want to know your take on the Archons and their divide. My first suggestion would be to build a boat. Something durable, and take our chances on the high seas far from Kairos. I have a second and more practical suggestion. Look to the horizon and slightly up. By that I mean the other spires. We should see what's atop the others. Otherwise someone else might look first. Queens and kings of past ages have claimed the spires in the sense of, hey look, I put up a scaffold and hung a banner 1/10 of the height of a spire. But that's nowhere near the same thing as what we all just saw. So I say, let's see if the other spires react to you the same way this one does. If we don't, I'll take that as your way of saying you suffer from debilitating acrophobia. Well, short of Tunon giving you orders on pain of death, you have the luxury of acting on your own volition, though the Scarlet Chorus are likely to come for you. Whatever you decide, I'm at your disposal. And I am thankful to not be a bloody pile of offal in Vendrian's Well. Life under your banner will, I'm sure, prove most interesting. What is it you need? Now we're working with the disfavored. You want my advice? My advice would be to get close to Graven Ash and plunge a poisoned shiv in his ear. Well, if you're working with Graven Ash, give it your all. Offer to help the Archon of War with whatever he needs. The stronger the Legion, the weaker the Chorus. And if you get close enough to him, well, with enough trust, you could get very close to the Archon of War. I'm not saying it's a quick plan, but I think if you stay close in his confidence, the moment to strike will reveal itself in time. Ask away. You know, I normally charge for this, but for you... Now, you know that's a very personal question. The knowledge I have is a centuries-old gift from the Archon of Tides. I would sooner discard my life than the sanctity of that gift. I will speak in generalities only. What is it you need? Ask away. Ask away. Ask away. We all know how to swim, and we all know how to fight. Most Northmen are lucky to make half that boast. What would you like to know? Aside from the ones you slew? Well, the Vendrian Guard were the most staunch opponents of Kairos. With their passing, the Overlord's rule is absolute. Well, aside from the local Archons being in a state of civil war. Was there a particular group you wish to discuss? The Bronze Brotherhood is one of the most feared and famous of the Free City mercenary companies. They serve the highest bidder, and during the war, that was Kairos. Most of the Brotherhood perished in the war, but a handful, the crew hired to work at Lethian's Crossing. They got to babysit the Forge-bound and survived the last few years with minor losses. The band is too small to be a serious threat to the disfavored or the chorus, but they are scourge-worshipping berserks that will adopt any enemy for the right price. Maybe even Kairos. Kairos' war was disastrous to the human realm of Azure, but a stroke of good luck for the numerous beastmen that toiled in Azure's endless wheat fields. With the masters all dead, the serfs have been set free. The Stonestalkers are a tribe born from these newly freed beasts. I imagine they would never bow to Kairos or the Archons. Too many generations have been enslaved. I'd wager anything they'll die before they ever bow. Beastmen understand strength and leadership, but it's always in the concrete sense. I can't pretend to know how they think, but I could never imagine them accepting an absent Prima. A distant ruler they can't see or smell seems a bit too abstract. Several sages came to our aid during the Second Battle of Vendrian's Well. I at first thought they meant to kill me, but instead they put their lives on the line for us. They spoke of others in their guild braving the Edict of Fire to salvage lore from the burning library. Though I may find them untrustworthy, it must be said that the sages have a certain fearlessness toward the Overlord. Perhaps that could be kindled further. Historically speaking, an alliance with the School of Ink and Quill is just asking to have your efforts stolen and your goals undermined. Mark my words, some things never change. Well, perhaps we can shove them in front of the enemy. And the ones that volunteered at Vendrian's Well weren't all bad. The Unbroken is the name of the military of the now-fallen realm of Stalwart. Every citizen of Stalwart was trained to fight, and all were expected to answer the rallying cry of the Regents, the ruling small council of the realm. A decade ago, Stalwart was the ass end of jokes Tearsmen would tell each other. The people of Stalwart are obnoxiously proud of a long history of being invaded, but never losing. The disfavored put an end to their vaunted record of victory. The Unbroken still persist, albeit marginally so. The disfavored withdrew after the Edict of Storms began shredding the landscape. Their holdfast of Sentinel Stand Keep was never taken, and the citizen army, though scattered, could still be rallied. Ask away. Not entirely sure. Which is to say, there was a time I studied my enemy in great detail, but I've recently come to learn that much of my information was little more than lies and misdirection. Ask away. I know a great deal of the mages of the Tiers, or at least their history. Most are dead now. I know a little less about the guilds sworn to Kairos' archons, but I try to make an effort to know my opposition. Ask away. My one concern with Barrick is that he's still loyal to Graven Ash and not to you. Barrick seems steadfast, faithful, and dependable. But if it comes down to you versus Graven Ash, therein lies the test. We should consider ourselves fortunate that one of the most deadly members of the Scarlet Furies considers you a suitable gang leader. That said, I think her involvement with you is entirely suspect. I would wager good money the voices of Neratis listening through her, or perhaps seeing what she sees. If I were you, I would keep a close eye on Burse. If she wanted to kill you, she could have done it already. But I can't help shake the feeling that she's part of some long ploy with the Archon of Secrets. Probably the only word thief I haven't wanted to dismember. Him? I'd merely flay with an ice knife. Ask away. What is it you need?
So, the Scarlet Chorus and Disfavored are at each other's throats. Can't say I didn't see that coming, but the Archons might have waited until one war was over before they started another. Fighting with the Disfavored. Well, not the call I would have made, but I'm sure you have your reasons. If you like iron weapons or something about that purple uniform excites you, then be my guest. Who can say? War is all about compromising your morals, deciding who lives and dies. What seems like a mistake turns into your greatest call down the road. Let me make one thing clear, just so that there aren't any misunderstandings. You support Graven Ash, and I couldn't care less. I'm here because you've done what none of the Archons could. Not even the voices of Nerat would fault me that. He's also a complete bastard, and I wouldn't want to miss an opportunity to stab him in the gut and take control of his army. So, there's that. I'll say this much. Our time together is anything but dull. My blades are yours for as long as you'll have me. What do you need? Point me in the right direction. I'll cut down whatever I find in my path. At your service, Fatebinder. What do you need? You've just got to know, don't you? I suppose there's no point in hiding it. Barrick and I are siblings. We share a father, if little else. I try not to think too much about some northern merchant dropping anchor in my mother's port, but it happened, and the fortunate result stands proudly before you.
Well, Verse has a nasty habit of jabbering in my ear and making this war intolerable. I plan on parting ways and returning to the north at first convenience. My father will answer for his infidelity. Beyond that, I am happy to consider myself in every way unaffected. My superiors once accused me of having an impulsive streak, but I have worked to suppress it at every turn.
When you go back home, send Father my fondest greetings and thanks. If he hadn't gone to ground on my mother's dry dock, I might not be here today.
My heritage was a point of pride and distinction before I met you, Verse. Not that you would care.
There were a lot of lazy days during the conquest, and among other things, I spent my off hours using messenger birds as target practice. You should have seen Ash's anger when he heard that was going on. One day, I snagged a bird that flew from the hands of a proud northern daddy. The missive was about the goings-on at the family farm. I recognized the name and handwriting from a note in my mother's belongings. There weren't too many people named Barrick in the army, so tracking him down was no challenge. I cornered him in camp, and we shared a few heated words. Some blackmail, even.
She tried to extort rings from me, and I was having none of it. Not even Graven Ash would think less of me for our father's indiscretion.
I like your confidence, but my ring belt is feeling a little light these days. Maybe you want to take me up on that offer, or I can start whispering in disfavored ears. Think about it. I've tried to get along with that ironclad knot of repression, but it would seem he's having none of it. Good riddance, then. The war's tossed us together, but nothing says we have to keep that going. The most we do for each other is try not to get the other one killed, which is more than you can say for most disfavored and Scarlet Chorus. I've asked myself about that several times, but unfortunately I don't have what you'd call a definitive answer. The Northerners put a lot of meaning behind family and blood. Seems arbitrary to me, but I don't want to discredit it entirely. I told you about what happened to my Scarlet Fury sisters. The hesitation I experienced. Sometimes I wonder if that wasn't because of my connection to Barrick. He's stubborn, regimented, everything I'm not. I suppose there's no telling for sure, but if I had to guess... Yeah, sometimes I get messed up in my head, and learning I had a brother has helped me understand that better. What do you need?
And so, civil war divides the armies of mighty Kairos. The reckoning that comes of this failure will be great indeed. We find ourselves in the darkest times. Brothers and sisters who fought for a similar cause now skewer each other over blighted lands in the favor of distant powers. Backing the disfavored was the only logical choice. Graven Ash is the only Archon worthy of your confidence, and you were wise to recognize as much. Naturally, I would have done the same. Whatever others might say about what happened in Vendrian's Well, you acted from instinct. I can't help but respect that. What can I do for you? Suffice it to say, my armor saved me from the destruction of Stalwart, where thousands of others lost. Affirmative.
At least in theory, I'm supposed to be observing history and not getting myself wrapped into it. All the same, this is the thrill of a lifetime. Rarely does one stand so close to monumental moments in the making. If given the choice between a multifaceted hive mind of treachery and a surly old soldier, General Grumps is the wiser choice. It's patently obvious which Archon is truly loyal to Kairos. So, I must ask, are you planning on taking sides in the Civil War? Or do you have other plans? Dutifully spoken. It is Tunon's duty to arbitrate matters between the Archons, so this rift between Ash and Nerat certainly falls under his jurisdiction. And here you are, thrust in the middle of the dispute. No doubt the mighty adjudicator will be relying heavily on you to get to the truth of the matter. Whatever you do next, consider that many eyes will be upon you, for you have both delivered and taken away the Overlord's edicts, and few will know how to make sense of the latter. You are an exception the Archons cannot afford to ignore. They will likely aim to control or destroy you. Most of Kairos' edicts were either worded to end in a manner of the Overlord's choosing, or the edicts have simply continued in perpetuity. That's not to say there haven't been stories of broken edicts. They're just uncommon. The oldest is, I think, Golbraith and the Edict of Sorrows, and that tale dates back to around the year 110. Aside from you, the most recent was the Edict of Twisting Grasses, back in 380. In all these stories, Kairos' edict very clearly gives its victim a single way to escape, and someone manages it. What's never happened is the pure abatement of an edict, like using a spell of warding or cancellation. I am nothing if not a semi-reliable font of knowledge. What did you want to discuss? I know everything, except for who's been saying that. What's on your mind? I'm flattered you think me that wise, but unless you are enthralled by migration observations and titillated by triangle ratios, I think I'd bore you silly. Fine, fine. If you have truly nothing better to do than talk trivia with old Lantry, so be it. A Brief History of the Tears by Sage Lantry. Volume 1, Settlers from the East. Dry land! Came the cry from the prow of the ship. After months in the deep ocean, the pioneers of the Tears saw their promised land at long last. Volume 3, years 90 to 94. If you thought 88 was a crazy time when everything changed, wait until 91. Well, if you enjoyed that, you're going to love Ratios of the Sun. So, by using the shadow of a staff at noon as a starting point, I used triangles to show a relation. Ah, I knew someone would ask that. And yes, so here's my proof. Sage Winding Script shows a relationship between all half-square triangles. I have a diagram somewhere. Yes. Way to steal the concluding reveal from me. But yeah, that's about the gist of it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think my voice needs rest. Thank you for the rousing conversation. One moment, my friend. Just let me finish this thought. I am nothing if not a semi-reliable font of knowledge. What did you want to discuss? You mean what's left of them? What would you like to know? The sages are archivists, academicians, and arcanists. Our mission is to preserve the knowledge of today for the good of tomorrow. Though we are known for our magic, few realize that most sages concern themselves with scribal work. Only a select few have the talent or focus to work the sigils. Each sage benefited from the scrolls of learning that came before him, and so each sage must repay this boon by gathering, authoring, or translating new texts to the stacks. But all that's a bit generous. It's no secret that the sages were far more happy to add knowledge than to share it. Why, indeed. As historians, it is our place to document, not direct. Let others rage and resist. Ours is the duty to record. The decision to defy Kairos was not unanimous, nor one decided upon lightly. The laws of Kairos would forbid much of the knowledge contained in the Vellum Citadel. The elder sages feared, rightly perhaps, that the Overlord would put an end to our tradition of stockpiling knowledge. The Battle of the Vellum Citadel was a battle to preserve knowledge, but our actions will be remembered as treason against the will of Kairos. The sages trace their days to a generation after 5 Wives, when the first settlers moved west. The Vellum Citadel began as a scholastic retreat, slowly blossoming into the finest library in the continent across the generations. The centuries fly by, and suddenly, the Vellum Citadel is the definitive archive in the tiers. The sages branched out into carrying missives for wealthy clients, training noble children to read. The peasants may have feared us, but we remained useful enough to the kings and queens of the tiers to avoid war. When Kairos came to the tiers, that's when our hubris came back to haunt us. The elder sages, the other elder sages, not I, believed our spellcraft was enough to ward off any siege. Well, we know how that turned out. Traditionally, we use magic only so that we may observe and archive, so that means magic of concealment and protection. But, in truth, we have amassed a great wealth of knowledge. Before the Vellum Citadel fell, any given subject of magic had at least one sage practicing it.
So you're admitting you had at least one agent of yours studying the magic of the Tidecasters?
Well, I mean, if such information had fallen into our hands generations ago, we'd be fools not to...
Not to suckle off that ill-gotten teat of knowledge? Filthy word whores of the worst degree. The Edict of Fire wasn't half of what you deserved. I see. Better that we forgive the thieves. That certainly won't set a bad example.
I am nothing if not a semi... What would you like to know? I am nothing if not... Well, you might want to ask a more soldierly type about the armies, but do you want to talk about the Archons or other mages? Well, you might want to ask a more soldierly type. Not the youngest Archon in history, but certainly one of the younger, and history has yet to write much about her. And if I happen to be the first to write about her, well, that will look nice for my legacy. Ash has served with Kairos for a mere century, but he has been a reliable general and level-headed warlord. Certainly when compared to some of the more bloodthirsty Archons to serve under Kairos. I'm not saying the disfavored are merciful. I'm just saying I've read the stories of the Archon of Blood and know it could be worse. I know Graven Ash can defend his soldiers from far away. Ash's Aegis is the term us Arcanophiles have taken to calling it. Not surprisingly, Graven Ash is beloved by his troops. I mean, if Tunon could mystically protect you from cudgels and sharp sticks from leagues away, you'd like him more. Of course. How can I help? All kinds of things. My mind is old, memory's a sieve. Keeping track of you, noting what I hear of the war, scribbling down reminders to myself, that sort of thing. Oh, certainly not. But it depends on the ink I'm using. Too much cerulean and I can't sleep. But just the right amount, and I can write all night. The red ink will give you swamp bottom if you drink it, but absorbed through the skin, it'll make you taste colors and smell music. Speaking of which, I should change out my tip. I use 3 kinds, sepia, cerulean, and a red that's never the same shade. My recipe needs work. I like having 3 colors, but they also provide different states of mind for writing. I can't in good conscience poison you. Oh, fine. The things I do to educate the youth. Here's how it works. The reds give you a brief bout of synesthesia, great for writing music. Cerulean can unhinge me a bit, but it blocks out the cramps and anxiety. My sepia ink is perfect for quiet contemplation, also insomnia. Feel anything? On second thought, I shouldn't be poisoning your young mind. That should wear off in just a moment. One moment, my friend. Just let me finish this thought. Of course. How can I help? All kinds of things. Made from only the finest cuttlefish. What do you think? I'd say it's working. Sit and enjoy that for a bit. It'll wear off soon. One moment. Of course. How can I help? Oh. Made from only the finest cuttlefish. What do you think? I'd say it's working. Sit. One moment. Of course. How can I... Oh. Made from only the What do you think? I'd say it's work... one moment, my... Of course. How can I help? All kinds of things. My mind is old. Memories is... Well, yes. If I'm worth my weight in tin as a craftsman of record, future generations will know of you. So yes, the Archon of Posterity sent me. You seem troubled by something that ought to be an honor. Do you have something to hide? Do you want your actions forgotten? Either way, if I actually survive following you and make a cogent text out of this ramble of notes, well, if that happens, and you hate it, you can torch the pages. On that, we agree. Don't worry, history needn't know the exact body count of your saga. I am nothing if not a semi-reliable font of knowledge. What did you want to discuss? And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, it is hard to find someone with whom I can discuss such things. And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, familiar is a relative term. I think I know more than most, but it's a subject of mystery, even to the scholars. Though, I must admit, in addition to my reading, I've ventured into the old walls on occasion, and soiled many undergarments in the process. And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of... I've forgotten more than most bloodchanters have ever learned. What do you want to know? I think you know all I can teach you. And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since... And I'd be happy to oblige. Edicts are the strongest manifestation of magic we know, and they seem to violate all other lesser phenomena. No dispel cantrip has ever dented or abated an edict. Even archons with powers of great durability cannot shrug off their effects. Just look at Cairn. Now, what I find curious, edicts can flex a little. Or so my studies suggest this is the case. Take the Edict of Storms. While the day it was proclaimed was the most violent, the actual radius of the storm has changed over time. But most will have none of my hypotheses on this matter. So, in my studies, some edicts resolve some problem of the overlords and then vanish into history. But the edicts that linger around, almost all of them begin to widen. Their effects become more intense. Here's the intriguing part. The older the edict, and the more that's written about it, the more the reports of that edict get more dire over time. Something to that effect, at least. I contend that edicts are powered by fear. Fear of Kairos helps fuel the casting, and fear of the edict feeds the magic, sustaining it, and, if enough people fear it, even growing it a bit. The other sages have had little to comment on the subject. Most found the study of Kairos to be bad luck for whatever reason. Intellectual honesty demands that I study the matter more. If I'm correct, the more people fear and obsess over an edict, the stronger it becomes. Anyway, another study for another time. And I'd be happy to oblige, ever since...
Right. Sorry, can't. Can't do that. Found something. Sorry, can't. Can't do that. Sorry, can't.
You call yourselves officers of Kairos' army, but your conduct falls short of my expectations. The court finds your accounts of Vendrian's well lacking, rife with misdirection and fallacy, fouled with baseless accusation. Silence! The contradictions in your statements will be examined, and falsities threshed from truths. If we find you have perjured yourselves, Bled and Mark will see to your fate. Fatebinder, we will start with the matter of the Archons. Graven Ash and the Voices of Nerat have declared war upon each other. In addition to violating Kairos' peace, they have thrown the conquest of the Tears into disarray. By all accounts, these hostilities began shortly after your arrival. Tell us what transpired. The Fatebinder presents testimony. I warn you both against speaking out of turn. Something more than a mere disagreement unraveled this campaign. But I will return to that in time. Let us speak of Ascension Hall. The disfavored sing your praises across the realm, though the Scarlet Chorus appeal for charges of treason. Perhaps you can offer a more enlightened account. An efficient solution, the type I would expect from a capable agent. Tell me though, with the edict looming overhead and death the price of failure, why not employ the numerical advantage of the Scarlet Chorus? I will consider this testimony at length. The court thanks you for it. Is there anything you wish to add at this time? Your testimony is accepted by the court. The statements of our guests raise questions in my mind. There is much about this campaign that has caused me to wonder. A shipment of iron weapons was short on arrival. Where coveted iron is concerned, I don't believe it to be a clerical error. One of my agents recovered this seal in Echo Call. It belongs to a merchant collective. Lethian's Crossing is teeming with their kind. If you would root out treachery, I would advise starting there. Petitioners, leave us. I would have a private audience with the Fatebinder. Ascend and join me. You will find the way opened.
I got it.
This civil war, this feud, is an insult to Kairos' peace. It should not have taken the better part of a year to silence the last vestiges of the Oathbreakers. Our allies squabble while our enemies regroup. It falls upon the court to measure the extent of the damage, and to execute the agents of disorder. I suspect that treachery, negligence, disunity, and greed have infected one or both of our esteemed allies. Until you are instructed otherwise, this matter is the court's primary focus. Graven Ash and the voices of Nerat must be examined in close detail. You are charged with observing the Archons and presenting your case that one of them has wrought chaos and disorder upon the Tiers. As always, you will be held accountable for what you do in the court's name, but you are free to conduct your investigation in the manner of your choosing. You must expect lies, misdirection, and manipulation. Suffer not such obstructions of justice. The disfavored seem the logical first step in your inquiry. The Legion holds you in some esteem, and Graven Ash has shown deference to the court in times past. No doubt the disfavored will be rife with accusations and evidence against the voices of Nerat. Graven Ash is a noble man, but never underestimate his capacity for deception. A wise general succeeds by knowing when to be unreadable to the enemy. You should, of course, speak with the Scarlet Chorus and gather their testimony, but it stands to reason that most in the chorus would sooner brag about a pauldron fashioned from your skull than entertain your questions. Do not regret killing the rabble that impede your investigation. They will be easily replaced. The conscription methods of the Scarlet Chorus open the doors to the loyal and the wretched alike. No doubt those who are aligned to the chorus out of survival will be the most forthcoming. The genuinely loyal members of the chorus will likely lie with abandon to protect the voices of Nerat. Your fellow Fatebinders have been busy acting as my eyes and ears. I have a few leads for you to follow. You should, of course, speak with your brothers and sisters of the court if you need further counsel. The disfavored have made use of the Sage's network of dovecotes and messenger birds as they come under capture. I've heard multiple claims of strategic communications gone missing. The Sages are broken, their citadel in flames, but they were not slaughtered to the last. Some of their numbers still congregate around the smoking husk of their burning library. If they have been reading disfavored communications, learn what they learned, then execute them. The Oathbreakers were reported to be using iron armaments, more than they might acquire from looting what few disfavored they killed. Any iron in the tiers not rusted through was made by forge-bound hands in Lethian's Crossing. Between craftsman and quartermaster, someone let iron fall into enemy hands. Investigate this matter and bring the thieves to justice. There is a final matter to discuss. A sensitive topic. In spite of the many shortcomings at Vendrian's Well, you managed to make a name for yourself. You proclaimed an Edict of Kairos, resolved its demanding conditions, and ascended the mountain spire. Any one of these feats would be worthy of recognition by the highest authority. You managed to accomplish 3. Your sense of obligation to your role is admirable, but modesty will not recommend you to the task ahead. Whether by design or by accident, you have captured the attention of Kairos' army and the local tiersmen alike. This is no small opportunity, and the court charges you with exploiting your new standing to its fullest potential. You have a title in our hierarchy. However, it's a little-known secret that one's standing in the world is determined by their infamy, their deeds, and how they come to be known. Mind this notion as you bring justice to this lawless frontier. There may come a time when your deeds speak for you louder than any title. Whatever you did to capture the attention of the masses at Vendrian's Well, I would encourage you to do so again. You begin to understand. Whether your acts are favorable or heinous, it falls to you to bring greatness to this campaign. You are dismissed. Should the court have need of your presence, you will receive word. Go forth and do my bidding, and bring glory and honor to the Tiers in Kairos' name.
learn something every day. On it.
I... Shield fall into my shield! You won't get away that easily!
Come.
Whatever you need.
Archon! Let me... Drink!